Hey everyone, welcome back to the Make It Epic Wedding Podcast. You're with your host Matt today. I'm doing a solo episode, which is a bit different to what we've probably done in the past. And Tim's having a bit of a holiday this week with his family, which, everyone's got to have their holidays. And I think it's amazing because, man, we've been so busy. We've been flat out. So, I just thought I would jump on anyway. And I'm going to smash out an episode today with a hairdresser. Her name is Grace Roby. And if you don't follow her already, you probably should, because she is so good at what she does. And I was so excited to jump on and have a chat with her today. We talk all things hair because, look, me and Tim, we're probably not the best people to give advice on the hair situation when it comes to a bride and bridal hair. So we got one of the pros on in the industry, and Grace is amazing. We dived into so much info about the preparation it is for hair and different styles of hair. I didn't realize how much effort Grace goes to as well, in the sense of, I guess, just the effort she puts in pre-wedding and what that looks like. So, if you haven't heard about Grace, go check her out. She's amazing. And, we are super excited for you to dive into today's podcast with her and, really get some golden nuggets when it comes to that hair and how it is that you can make your wedding epic, even with the little things like hair, which I think is a topic and a vendor that is sometimes overlooked. So make sure you listen, take some notes, and we hope that, this episode is insightful, and we hope that this episode brings you value so that we can make sure that your day is epic. So let's dive in and say hi to Grace. Hey Grace, how are you? Welcome to the Make It Epic Wedding Podcast. So excited to have you on today to talk all things hair, because I feel like this is such a big topic.
It is. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
It's going to be so much value for all the brides out there, maybe the grooms too, that are, have long, luscious locks, but mainly for the brides out there today, this one. And hopefully we dive into some questions that are really going to help you, I guess, make your wedding epic, so to speak, and, get that hair in the right direction that you want it to be, and make sure that, sometimes hair can really make or break your photos as well. It's such a big topic. So I'm excited 100%. To have a professional on there, because look, as a guy, I know a little bit. I've learned a bit of the tricks of the trade so far, so to speak, but not as much as you, because you are a pro.
Well, thank you.
So before we get stuck into talking deep and meaningful about hair, let's get into a couple of little quick fire questions, because we love to do this with guests, and it always gets to, I guess, we get to know you a little bit better, and then also, I guess you will feel a little bit more comfortable chatting to us about hair later. So it's very easy. Don't overthink it. So quick fire questions. Favorite movie?
The Notebook.
The Notebook. Oh my goodness. Classic. I love. Favorite food?
Thai food?
Thai food.
Thai or Mexican?
Or Mexican. Big taco fan. Yeah. Sign me up. Coffee after 5 o'clock. Yes or no?
No way.
No way? No. No. What word do you have a hard time pronouncing?
Oh my gosh. That one's a hard one. I don't know.
Just
ask me later after the podcast.
We'll find out halfway through this. You'll be trying to say something. Do you have a what's your best non-curse word insult? There's so many. She's like, I just swear at everybody. Do you drink alcohol before lunchtime? Yes or no?
No.
Not a 9 a.m. Little espresso martini or something?
No, definitely not.
If you were to buy an exotic pet, what would it be?
Maybe a parrot or a toucan or something like that.
You could take it to weddings with you and just sit on your shoulder and help you out. So good. I reckon brides would love that too. My wife would hate it. She's scared of birds, so that's probably not ideal for her.
Oh, really? Yeah, no.
Yeah. Okay, and last one. What has your favorite age been so far, and why?
I actually really like like being 30. Well, I'm 31 now, but I feel like 30s are really good.
Yeah, just like cruising through life, living the dream.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And you're
feel like
kind
there's
of
less
doing the
drama.
job you want to do. Yeah, less
Yeah,
drama. You're
yeah,
kind of settled. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm enjoying being 31.
And you're killing it at your game, which is always amazing.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
I'm keen to hear because, like, obviously being a hairdresser, like, it's kind of one of those things. I'm assuming most people kind of do out of school, and it just is what, like, it's kind of one of those, I guess, professions that people go into. But keen to hear about your story. How did you become a hairdresser, and how did you get into, I guess, specializing more so in the bridal aspect?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always kind of been around hair. My mum's a hairdresser, and has been doing hair since, well, I was in her tummy. So I kind of feel like I've always been around it. I never really thought that it was something that I wanted to do. And then I was in, I think, year 10, and I did a TVET course at TAFE. And it was actually my careers advisor said to me, Grace, like, are you stupid? Pretty much. Like, why would you not do hairdressing? And I was kind of like, oh, because I really do want to do year 11 and 12. I wasn't ready to leave high school. So she mentioned to me doing it while I was still doing my HSC. So that's what I did. I did my apprenticeship while I did my HSC, and then I came out of year 12 with already 2 years of TAFE done.
Killing it.
And
Love
then,
that.
yeah, it was really good. And then I actually did my apprenticeship with my mum, which was really good. And then I kind of, yeah, did my 2 years at TAFE, had a little bit of a break after high school, did some traveling, and then came back to it. And I've never looked back now. I just love it.
Amazing. How good is that?
Yeah.
Not that it comes to photography, but I did the similar thing to you. I'm a builder by trade, and yeah, I
Yeah.
did the same thing. So I did my carpentry apprenticeship for 2 years during 11 and 12, and then kind of just came out and got straight stuck into it. So yeah, definitely is helpful when you can have a little helping hand, but still be able to do 11 and 12 for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
such a good, like, and I feel like having a trade, or for you especially, like, this has been like, clearly you love it and you're good at what you do, and having your mum by your side, that's always also helpful. Do you ever take her to weddings with you? Does she ever come and help you out?
Yeah, I have a few times. Yeah, if I've needed an assistant or another set of hands, she's come along to help me out,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Who's the boss in the relationship when it comes to that? Is she still boss lady, or are you on top of it?
I'd say it would be me.
So good. That's awesome. I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you've always got someone to, like, bounce ideas off to, having your mum there. She's probably got a wealth of
Yeah.
knowledge and experience back there. So it's cool.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Amazing. And so let's dive in. Like, I feel like today is such a big topic, as we said from the start. And look, we've got a lot of questions, and we've been chatting about it for a couple of days now prior to, jumping on this morning and having a chat. And yeah, I want to dive straight into this because, as I said, hair is a massive topic. And I feel like sometimes it's, I don't know, maybe like not, what's the word? Maybe not like valued enough, so to speak, when it comes to like how important it is to be like a part of your day. And, like, I guess on this podcast, we talk a lot about photos, but the hair is really important to make sure that, like, it looks amazing in all photos. And that's a hard job for you. So I guess when it comes to like hair itself, like, let's start from the start. Like, what advice would you give to brides, I guess, looking for a hairdresser? Like, very broad.
Yeah. I always say, have a look on social media, have a look on Instagram, kind of figure out what style you want and what you want to go for your wedding day. There's so many hairdressers and makeup artists in the industry now, but everyone kind of has a different style. And I feel like it is really important to figure out what you do want. And also vibes on the morning, like this person is kind of in your face and in your personal space for the morning of one of the biggest days of your life. So you do really want someone that you gel with. So have a trial. Definitely book in a trial, meet with your stylist, same with makeup, and just get a vibe. You do have to vibe. Same, I guess it's the same with you. Like, you want to meet with your couples and make sure that, everyone gets along and it's going to be all nice and stress-free on the morning.
Absolutely, because it's different. I guess for us, it's like we're with them and we're not in their face, but we're with them all day during the day. But like, you're there all morning as well, so you're probably like equal amount of time with the bride, kind of thing, as we would be when you kind of work at the timing, because sometimes you've got some early starts and you've got some late, like, and you're there all day long. And yeah, that's definitely an important point. And absolutely same with like when it comes to like, check out what their Instagram is and check out all the different styles and what they like. Because it's the same with photo, same with video. It's the same with realistically anything, I guess, when it comes to the whole wedding planning world. Like, social media has been so helpful in that sense of you can see so many different styles and photos. And yeah, it's very helpful. And I guess I just want to touch on the vibe again of the morning, because as a photographer, I walk in probably when it's starting to get a little bit stressful. Maybe we're getting to the pointy end of the day and like, the hairdresser's running late or something, she's taking a bit longer than she wanted to, or the makeup artist or whatever's happened, there's always things that, we run a little bit late with, and I'm just throwing you under the bus because I'm talking to you. And it's not always your fault. But the vibe is very important, right? Like I've walked in before and there's like awkward silence, no music playing, there's kind of just like nothing happening. What's your, like when it comes to that, like do you try and control that a little bit? Do you throw suggestions in there? I know it's awkward because you kind of like don't want to be too in your face, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just have a bit of a gentle approach, I guess, in terms of let's put some music on if their vibe is kind of, as you said, like it's really quiet or no one's really talking. So I think music is definitely a big one. I feel like that kind of sets the tone and the mood for the morning, which is really nice. And I'm always kind of like, has everyone eaten? Has everyone had water? Like you need to be hydrated today. You need to make sure that you're eating, because if you don't eat, you'll feel sick later. And there is a big time gap between, when they have breakfast at say 6 a.m. until they eat again at the reception.
Absolutely.
So, and I think a lot of people do, because of nerves, do forget to eat. But yeah, I mean, the vibe on the morning is so important. So it is good to have, you want to feel comfortable with that person that is in your personal space, I guess.
Absolutely. And that little music tip, definitely, like if you are planning your wedding and you're thinking about like, how the morning looks, so to speak, not just from like a hairdresser point of view or anything like that. Like the music makes such a difference, because like it definitely starts the vibe for the day. When I've walked in and there's like some epic tunes playing and everyone's real happy and excited, it always is when there's good music playing. Like I never really walk into a place 100%. And like it's like semi-quiet and like, no one's really talking. That's when it's kind of like, when I walk in, I have to start getting the vibes rolling there, where if there's already been the prep work, so to speak, of that, it makes life really easy for everybody there. And like I guess you have a better time too when you're like doing your hair, like doing hair for the girls and stuff, like you're like bouncing around a little bit too at the good tunes playing. So it definitely improves the mood. Yeah, 100%. I am a big fan. Turn your music on, ladies. That's what it's about. So, all right, big question again. I feel like we're dropping some big truth bombs today, some golden nuggets, as Tim would normally use the term. So, yeah, what is the most common thing you hear brides say to you in general about hair?
I think it's a lot of time I get, brides will come into their trial and have an expectation of, something that they've seen on, say, Pinterest or Instagram, and that sometimes can be unrealistic. So I think that's probably one, like having an unrealistic expectation of what your hair can do. So I always try and steer my brides in a direction of, saying maybe find a photo or an inspiration photo that is the same color as your hair, and two, same texture as your hair. That definitely helps. Another thing that I hear a lot, which is a little bit upsetting, is brides say, I just can't wait for this to be over.
Yeah.
And are you the same? Do you hear that a bit?
I think it's the stress of it, hey. It's just the
100%.
The overthinking of it. And it's not anything that me or you could do, right? It's nothing that we've done on the day. No. It's not that we are the issue of why they're keen for it to be over. I guess let's stress that too. It's not something that you've done, Grace.
No. I think, as you said, it's definitely a stressful time planning a wedding. So, I think by the end of it, when it is getting closer to that wedding day, the bride and groom are probably just thinking, I just want to get on my honeymoon. I just want to, obviously enjoying my wedding morning, wedding day, wedding night, but they just kind of want it, all this planning to be over. Um, but I always try and remind them like this is such a fun and important time. Just enjoy it. Enjoy every moment and take it all in, and especially the wedding morning, getting ready with the girls, like just it's like you're in a room with your best friends getting your hair and makeup done. You've got photographers, you've got videographers. It's such a buzzy, fun time. Like, just enjoy it.
Absolutely. And it's not often that you get like quality time with those people either, probably like these days. Like it's not like
Yeah.
we're in a position where everybody's hanging out with everyone every single weekend. There may be people traveling from overseas. Like your best friend might come from like, I don't know. Yeah, definitely like overseas, interstate. You don't see them often. It's such a beautiful time for everyone just to be hanging out. And also I think like as a photographer, videographer, hairdresser, makeup artist, we're in a pretty unique position where we get to see people in those moments where they get to have that intimacy between their friends. And, there's a lot of feelings
Yeah.
rolling around in the room in the morning of the wedding, as you've said. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes they're stressful. It's all happening, and we see it all. I'm sure you've probably seen it a lot more than me because you're there real early. Like there's probably a few little breakdowns at times. There's a few little like freaking out moments of things going wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I guess like the main thing is like, yeah, we want to make sure that you guys enjoy the day no matter what we do. But we also want to make sure that like all those things, it doesn't really matter as long as you guys have fun.
Exactly. And I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Just forget all of those little niggly worries that I guess you obviously everybody would have on the wedding morning, like weather and things like that, that you kind of, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You're going to have the most amazing time regardless. So yeah, just enjoy those little moments because you're hopefully never going to do it again.
Absolutely. It's so important. And I guess touching on this kind of leads us into the next little bit of topic is like, let's talk about how to make the morning stress-free from a timing point of view. So like when I mean timing point of view, I mean like timing for the morning / what time do you recommend people being ready? Like how do you navigate the timing and schedule aspect of the day pre-wedding in the like, I guess the lead up to it?
Yeah, sure. So I always suggest, depending on what time the ceremony is, I always suggest being ready an hour to an hour and a half before that. So meaning all hair and makeup done at that point. So basically all the bride has to worry about is, getting dressed, photographer to arrive, and obviously like knowing what you guys do, you want to have some photos of like touch ups and stuff like that. But I mean, you kind of want that time, that hour to just chill. Like it has been a stressful morning. You want to be able to sit down with your girlfriends and your mom and mother-in-law and whoever else is there getting ready with you. Sit down and just relax and, have a drink and just kind of, I guess, debrief on the morning. And then you've got that time to then get your dress on and, hopefully you don't have a big trip to get from where you're getting ready to the ceremony. But yeah, like just relax.
Absolutely. It's such an important like aspect again to the day because it creates vibes. It creates like
yeah, definitely.
And if we're all rushing with our heads cut off, running around trying to get everything done, and then I rock in and then I'm like, oh, like
yeah, no one's ready.
Yeah, what's going on here? It just really creates like a bad vibe. So look, if we can control it, it's something that's very helpful for sure. And look, don't be scared to talk to us either. I think that's kind of like a big one. Like, do you get many brides, I guess, reaching out to you, just being like talking about timing and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I do get a lot of questions about this. I always send through to all of my brides a run sheet. So I provide this maybe a month or two before, just so they can kind of have a look over that and get a gauge of how the morning will run in terms of hair. So I allow usually 45 minutes for the bridesmaids and the mums, and then I spend an hour or an hour and a half with the bride, just depending. So I do think it is important for the brides to know a time and have a timeline, I guess, and a run sheet. Are you the same, Matt? Do you kind of work off that as well in time?
Yeah, absolutely. I try and meet up with all my couples and make sure that, yeah, like we talk about the run sheet and we talk about the timing and, like especially just recommending a time that we are all kind of like done by when it comes to hair and makeup, and just like suggesting that we are ready for enough time to be able to jump in your dress and get all the photos that we need to get before X, Y, and Z, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I
yeah,
feel like we kind of touched on this the other day, and I mentioned, I always suggest to one of the girls, one of the bridesmaids, well, if they're kind of just like, oh, what can we do? How can we help? Go and get all those little things ready for when the photographer does get there. So they're not walking in and then asking for X, Y, and Z, and everyone's running around. As you said before, it's kind of like sets the vibe for the morning. You want everything kind of organized beforehand, right?
absolutely. And that's why you're a pro, because you don't just you're not just doing the hair thing. You're doing, you're doing helping out with like, I guess, like schedules and stuff, but you're also thinking about other people, the photographer, and, knowing that like when we rock in, you've seen enough weddings now, you're like, oh yeah, this is what they need, which is great. Yeah. Love it.
Or like taking the bouquets out of the water, and half an hour before, and getting that organized for the girls. The amount of times, I'm sure you're the same, Matt. The florist always does mention that when they drop the flowers off, but obviously, there's so much going on, and sometimes it's just forgotten. And the amount of times I've seen girls pull out those bouquets just before they're about to walk down the aisle, and they're dripping everywhere, and
they're flicking water on those. Is it silk? Is that the color that, like, is that the material? Sorry, that like really like just eats up the water. It's
yes.
It's like they pull it out and they're just like, oh, like this is not ideal at all. Like, and they end up like, they literally end up just like flicking water all over themselves, and it's never a great start before, like, I guess prior to the ceremony. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. So that's me. I'm kind of the one that's running around making sure that everyone's ready to walk out that door and everything's in order.
Look at you go. Such a pro. That's amazing. I love it. Awesome. So yeah, and I love everything we've been like talking about so far is kind of getting us to this point. Like, and I feel like we just touched on it a little bit then in terms of like the process you do for timing and like how, I guess, all of that, like, I guess communication works pre-wedding, but maybe just quickly run us through, like, I guess, how your process is realistically booking you for a wedding. What does that look like?
Sure. I mean, a lot of brides reach out to me through Instagram, but I do have a contact form as well on my website. So usually what happens is I'll just fill out that, which just gives me some more information in terms of where their wedding is, where they're getting ready, how many people need their hair done on the morning. Also things like who's the photographer, who's their makeup artist. And I do like to get a little bit of a feel of kind of what their vibe is for the day. So I do have a little question box in there that kind of just, they can just explain what's the theme for their wedding and things like that, how they met their partner. And then once they've done that, I'll send through a quote, which will just, and there's also a lot of information to take in on my quote, I must admit. But that just explains, how things work and terms and conditions and all that fun stuff.
Yep.
And then a deposit is usually paid after that. If they do, they do want to book me, they'll pay a deposit. And then after that, we kind of touch base and organize a trial, which I usually suggest maybe 1 to 2 months beforehand. I just feel like anything before then, things can change so often.
Absolutely.
So, you don't like,
you might change hair color
on your dress. Change hair color, your hair can grow, and so many things can change. So I always say 1 to 2 months before, and then we'll book that in, and we kind of I'll send out a form once they have paid that deposit, and that also then will give me timings, what time the ceremony is, all of that kind of stuff, so I can then, as I said before with the run sheet thing, I like to have everything kind of organized beforehand, so that's less stressful for the bride. And then basically that's it. And then they come in for their trial, and we spend anywhere from an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, but we'll go through everything. Like, we'll put the veil in, we'll do a few hairstyles to make sure to rule out, if the bride's a bit uncertain whether or not she wants her hair down or she wants her hair up. So we usually try both. just in case, worst case scenario, on the day it might be raining. And at least then if it is, and they were, 100% sure they wanted their hair down, at least then if I say, oh, it's raining, how about we do the upstyle? At least then they do have in their mind what that could look like.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump in before we start talking about upstyles, downstyles, whatever you want to call them, but before you talk about that, just talk to me a little bit about with the booking process and with your trials. Like, do you do trials with everybody?
Yes, I do. I don't book a wedding now without doing a trial beforehand. I just do think it is so important to do a trial before.
So you just like, is that like, that's just obviously when you do your quote, you're just like adding that into like the total cost essentially. So doing the trial.
The trial is included in the quote.
Amazing.
As I said, I just think meeting someone beforehand, knowing the hair type, there's been a lot of occasions that I've done trials with brides and I've said, I'm so glad we did this trial, just for little things like I might get them to wash their hair on the morning of the wedding rather than the night before. So knowing that hair type is so important, and I don't think you can get that through photos. Now I won't book a wedding without a trial.
So good. And so when you do your trials, they come to you? How does that, what does that look like? I guess just, give some, if people are looking to book Grace, they're getting all the information and you're not having to type this all out in an email.
So I work out of a space in Engadine, in the Sutherland Shire. So I do my trials usually on a Thursday night, with all day Thursday night, or a Friday. Just at the moment, Matt, with being so busy with weddings, it's kind of the time that I can fit in at the moment.
Yep, that's it. That's flat out.
They'll come into the salon. And as I said, we'll spend anywhere from an hour to 2 hours just kind of going through everything and deciding what they want for their big day.
Amazing. I love that. It's so good to hear that you put, I guess, the care and effort and energy into every single couple, no matter, or every single bride, I should say, no matter, who they are or what they want. It's not just you're oh, I do this and I'm a pro and watch me go. It just makes, I guess, that little bit of extra care and effort just makes the day so much more special. And, we're all making sure that we get exactly what we want on the day from all of our vendors. And so we're touching on this a little bit already as it is. What does it look like for you when, I guess, it comes to a recommendation sort of style for what the lead up to the wedding is, the night before the wedding, the process it is that you would recommend when it comes to, I guess, the girls and their hair, and I guess washing it and things like that, on all of that goodness, hair prep, I guess we'll call it.
Okay. So again, this is something I will speak to my brides about, trial or pre-trial. Hair care is so important. In just shampoo, conditioner, what you're using at home really does make a difference with how your hair is going to look and hold on your wedding day. So again, this is individual, but I will speak to my brides about this, and they'll, sometimes come to me with their concerns and be like, what should I be using? So we'll kind of go through that together and come up with, I guess, a hair care plan leading up to the wedding. Regular trims also is important. Regular treatments, if they're using Olaplex, all this kind of thing is something that I do go into with my brides. But in terms of night before prep and things like that for the bride and the girls.
Oh yeah, the girls too. Don't forget about them.
Yeah. So what I do is on my run sheet, I have a lot of instructions on there. Probably can be a little bit daunting reading that. And I do say to my girls, don't stress, but it definitely does make a difference for the longevity of the styles on the day. So as mentioned, if I do meet a bride and I think, her hair is going to be better washing it in the morning, then I'll get the bride to wash her hair in the morning and then I will blow dry it for her. Otherwise, it'll be the night prior. And all of the instructions are on my run sheet. So just, how many times to shampoo, how to condition, what to be putting in, what not to be putting in, how to blow dry it. Also in terms of skincare the night before, because I found, the girls will put face masks on and do their beautiful oils, and which is great, and I love that. But sometimes it can leave a residue on their hair. So I'm quite, I guess, I put that down. Please wear a headband if you're doing like your beautiful oils and face masks the night before. Do all your steaming the night before, because once your hair's done in the morning and you go and stand around a steamer, you'll make your hair drop straight away.
This happened on
So it's
Friday.
all these little things.
Happened Friday. I had this is, I'm sorry for butting in, but this was literally a little story just to throw in there. I walked into prep on Friday for these girls, and they like had a little like hand steamer in their hand, and she was like, is this on? And she turned it towards her face, and it turned it on at the same time, and it literally this like puff of steam came straight out of her. She had her makeup done, her hair done. I was like, well, this is a great introduction. So it was hilarious. So yeah, look.
And that would have been really hot. Was she okay?
Yeah, it was like far enough away, but still close enough that I was like, oh man, that was like close. You could have lost a nose. So yeah, look, I love that you put so much effort and energy into like the night before stuff, which, as a guy, as a photographer, I probably don't really appreciate it enough. And after this, I'm like, I was sitting here going, wow, this is amazing. I think it's like, and it really shows that you care, which is like, I love that. And I feel like there's so many factors and I've never thought of before, of like how much what you do prior to the wedding when it comes to hair can affect the hair on the day, which, that's why you're the pro and I'm not, but yeah, it's so cool to see. And, having all those like little hints and tips and like by the sounds of it, like what's the word? I guess like part of your booking process, and that you send out info to them, like info packs, I guess prior, it's like, it's so handy to have, and definitely helps when you're on top of all of this and will help your day be better.
I think it just makes things run so smoothly on the morning. Like you kind of want to minimize any extra stress that you can on that morning of the wedding. So I think just having all of that direction the night before, and making sure that those little things that you kind of don't really think of, like for example, steaming dresses and, putting, as I mentioned to you, putting out all the things for you the next day, all of that, if that is done the night before or early that wedding morning, it just stops that, I guess chaos in a way. It just eliminates any extra stress that's unneeded.
I love that. It's so good. And so when we're talking like hairstyles, and we've been like, obviously we've spoken a lot generally about hair, and I kind of like stopped you before because I knew that we had this like big question coming up. And I know that you've probably got a lot to say about this. And maybe as a photographer, I've got a little bit to say, or, give my boy 2 cents on. But factors that I guess brides should think about when choosing a hairstyle. So when we're thinking hairstyle, I guess for me as a guy, I'm thinking up or down. Simple as that, right?
Yeah.
But
give
us your golden nuggets when it comes to factors that, brides should think about when choosing their hair.
Okay, this is a big one. I mean, first of all, dress is a huge factor in terms of if it's high neck, low back, shoulders, sleeves, no sleeves. There's so many different factors and so many different dresses now. I think that's probably the main one. If girls have, a beautiful low back dress, they want their hair up because it looks beautiful, so you can see that detail in the back of the dress. Or if it's a high neck, it might look better with the hair up. So there's so many different factors that come into account. Also, another big one is weather on the day. And as I mentioned before, especially with all this rain that we've had, it's just so unpredictable. So that's why I think it's important at their trial to do those 2 different styles, just to, worst case scenario on the day, we need to put the hair up. So weather is definitely a big one as well.
Especially wind, right? Like today, it's really windy. So
Yeah.
when we were chatting before, like it's literally blowing a gale outside this morning, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, today is not a day for like hair down, so to speak, because
Hair out. No,
yeah,
definitely not. Yeah,
um,
because I mean, I think I mentioned this to you the other day. You know, hair is something that, well, I mean, you're going to look at these photos for the rest of your life, right? So if your hair and makeup is not on point, you'll be like, oh, damn, why didn't I wear my hair up? Or why
absolutely.
didn't I do this? You kind of just want to think long term. And if it is raining or it is really windy, I just think it's, the better option is just to wear your hair up.
Absolutely. And like I think like a lot of people go, "Oh, the photographer can fix it." Like, I'm sorry, but I can't.
Yeah.
Or your photographer cannot
No,
fix that hair of yours if you're going to be disappointed with it. And I think from a video aspect, like everyone goes, "Oh, photography, they'll be able to fix it." But from video, and I think just speaking on behalf of the videographers out there, like they don't have Photoshop like a photographer does. So
no,
it's
no.
what you see is what
There's
you
no
get.
hiding
So
that.
no, exactly. So it's what you see is what you get, and there's no fixing that. I like from my point of view, I've definitely seen in the past a lot of kerfuffle during the day about hair. I think that
Yeah.
especially when hair's down, for me personally, or hair out is probably the word that you use, isn't it? So when your hair is out, I personally think that a lot of people stress a lot more about it. It's just an extra thing to worry about, so to speak. If
Yeah,
you are
agreed.
wearing your hair down, yep, is the right word. If you are wearing a hair down, Grace, what's your advice for brides? Like, I guess, so we've talked prep, we've talked morning of, we've talked hairstyle. What's your advice when it comes to like the day itself, during the day, where maybe we're like lucky enough that there's an epic sunset and your hair realistically got done probably 6 hours ago? What's your
Yeah.
during the day keeping it good?
So I suggest extensions a lot to my brides, even if they do have really nice thick hair. It just is for longevity of the day. I feel like extensions are just they work every time and they do look amazing. You don't even know that they're there. So that would be a big thing I would suggest to my brides if they are 100% set on having their hair down for the day. Otherwise, having a little pack, which I do give to my brides, of a little comb, a little hairspray, some bobby pins. So just after your photos or pre ceremony, you can kind of just give it a little brush through, give it another little spray, make sure that everything's sitting nicely. Or another thing is book me to stay, and I will stay and do touch ups for you after your photos.
Look at you go, the true professional. I love it. And I've seen you, Grace, like, you've explained to like brides and even bridesmaids, like, this is how you can, like, if this happens with the hair and whatever, something's happening and it's just not sitting right, this is how you can fix it. And I think
Yeah.
something that I've heard you also say is like, don't touch it if you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Try and let it do what it
Yeah.
does and only touch it if
Yeah.
it's necessary.
Yeah, I think, girls do that. I do it myself. We're constantly playing and touching and, moving hair around. But I think, as you said, you kind of, if you can just leave it, then just try and leave it, because it will just fall and, do its thing. And the more you kind of touch it, and then it starts to get a little bit oily, and we don't want that. So, yeah.
So good. I love it. And the little care pack of like, touch up pack, so to speak. It's amazing. Cause like,
Yeah.
that's definitely what like, makeup artists do that for sure. So cool that, you
Yeah.
do it as a hairdresser. I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I
So,
think it's important too, especially with veils.
oh yeah,
So
I was
it's
literally, you
always
took the words out of my mouth because
yeah.
that's my next question. So let's roll into veils quickly because I feel
Okay,
like
let's
this
go.
is a good one. So my question was going to be is like, what's your take on a veil / would you recommend to, as a hairdresser, would you recommend to stay during that like process of putting the veil in until they're dressed? Like maybe that part 2 is massive. So let's just talk about the first one for the minute. So what's your take on veils? How do you
I
work
love
with
a
them?
veil. I love them. I think they look beautiful. They're timeless. They're elegant. I think we touched on this the other day when we briefly spoke regarding the podcast, but we were saying that I don't understand why veils are still on that comb.
Oh, that comb, mate.
The comb.
A photographer's nightmare, and I'm sure it's yours too.
Yeah, I think even yesterday at my bride she came in for a trial and we decided this is way too big, this comb. It wasn't even a normal comb. It was probably about that big.
A monster comb.
And it just took up it was huge. And so we decided, well, I said to her, look, I think let's just unpick this comb and we'll work with just the veil, which was so much better. And it was secured. It looked beautiful. So I just think, that comb's got to go.
Just get rid of the comb. Just make sure
you get rid of the comb.
Just book Grace, and she will unpick your veil for you and create some masterpiece with it instead. So don't stress. Look, I've seen and as a photographer, I guess touching on this a little bit, and I did this yesterday. So the bride yesterday, she had a comb, and then it was windy as heck, and it's not ideal with a veil and being windy as heck. And she had her hair out. So look, there's a few factors there that adds to the fun for the day. And look, I'm all for it, but if you do have a comb, you don't want to unpick it, / we don't have the time for it maybe, and it's windy, are you a pin the veil in kind of girl, or are you a let it do its thing?
No, I definitely am a pin it in kind of girl. I'll stay right up until the bride pretty much walks out that door. So I do like to pin it in myself, because I just think it's secured then for the bride. They're not going to worry about it falling out and flying away.
It's a cool shot.
And yeah, it is a cool shot. And I also show the bridesmaids or one of the bridesmaids how to actually take it out again, because if it has been pinned in, it's quite secure. So you don't want to, I like to show them how to take it out, just so it's easy. They're not stressing. The hair stays in place, and
there is an art to taking that veil out. And as a photographer, I've probably learnt a little bit of tricks of the trade from other hairdressers, and for sure about putting a veil in, taking a veil out, and all that goodness. I even yesterday, decided that I was going to become a hairdresser for a couple of minutes, and I pinned the veil in for the bride yesterday because it was not pinned in. It probably wasn't that windy when we left for the ceremony, but it was a 45-minute drive up the coast from the prep to the ceremony. So there was a long distance, and we got out of the car, and I was like, oh, is your veil all pinned in? She's like, I've got it in my hand. So she actually took the veil out to get in the car because it was just sitting there for too long. Yeah. And then we got there, and I was like, I've got some bobby pins in my car. Let me go grab them for you. And so I went and grabbed them out of my car for her, and I pinned her veil in before, because I'm so glad I did too, because that veil, when she was walking down the aisle, the veil was blowing over the front of her, and the whole veil was in front of her, and it was just an absolute mess, and Dad was tripping over it everywhere. So it was a fun time. And but I definitely think pinning it in definitely makes a massive difference. Just to hold it all in place. And it may not even do that much potentially, but it's peace of mind. You're not worrying about it because it's pinned in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But as I said, I definitely will stay and put that veil in.
Yeah, that's literally what I was going to say. So you're a fan of staying as long as you need to get that veil secured.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. Oh, it's been so good to chat. And this week we've put out on both of our social media accounts, my personal one. We put it out on the Make It Epic Wedding podcast one, which if you are not following that, go jump on and follow us. But also, Grace, you chucked it on your Instagram as well. A couple of questions just asking the girls out there who follow you if they've got any questions regarding hair. And I feel like this is such a cool opportunity for us just to kind of go through a couple of these questions at the moment and talk about it, because it's not often that we do Q&As, especially talking specifically, I guess, at the moment with a pro that you are, about questions out there that people want to ask. So I know that you've got a few. So do you want to open them up and let's just dive into it and have a bit of a chat? Sure. It's probably going to be a one-way chat, but I'm happy to give my 2 cents about not knowing a whole lot. But when you're ready, go for it. Give us a couple of the questions you've been asked, because I didn't get as many probably as you would have.
Okay, so one of the ones that I really liked, I think I mentioned this to you before, was can we talk about how someone would book you for a wedding abroad, so overseas.
Oh, love
And I
it.
was kind of like, oh, that would be fun. And
Yeah.
it's something that, I've always wanted to do, but never have. I have done weddings up in Queensland before, and I have done a little bit of travel, but never overseas. So I guess it would be the same process as booking me for a wedding in Sydney. But the travel obviously would be a little bit different.
Just a tad.
I guess, yeah, just a tad. But I guess it would just be, you would try and work around a timeline. So while you were overseas, you could do maybe 3 or 4 other weddings. I think we did speak about this the other day, didn't we? Doing like elopements and kind of working, if you are in an area and you do, say, for example, go to Mexico, or you go to America, or you go to Bali, you would spend 3 weeks there and you would do
as many
weddings in that time. Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like from a hairdressing point of view, like it's like you've been saying, so it's all about getting to know the hair you're working with, right? And so I feel like it's definitely something that I can really see the value in taking your hairdresser. You know what I mean? Like, so if you have clients that you are always kind of dealing with, so to speak, and like working with, like as if they wouldn't want you to go, like it makes sense completely. Because they know you, they know your hair. Having your hairdresser there is pretty bloody epic, and look, we're amazing. Always keen to quote some weddings to go overseas, no matter, I think, and it might not even be overseas. It might be like interstate, further than what we would normally travel. It might be, it might be to New Zealand, which, yes, it's overseas, or it might be to Tassie, anywhere really on a plane. It's always a bit exciting for us vendors who normally are spending a lot of time in the car driving around places.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Another one I had was, I think we've touched on a lot of these actually with what we've already done, but another one was, would you cut hair on the day, wedding style, then cut the hair before the reception, which I thought was a good one.
You get the scissors out on the day if you have to, don't you?
Oh, always. The amount of times I've done fringe cuts and trims and, all those little things on wedding days is crazy. But yeah, I definitely would. I was actually a bridesmaid for one of my girlfriends, and she decided the night before, she did have quite long hair, and she decided the night before that she wanted to cut it into a really short bob for the wedding day. So we did that. That was pretty epic.
Talk about a bit of a surprise for the husband to be when she walks down the aisle and she's lost half her hair.
Yeah, he loved it. But yeah, no, definitely, I definitely would do a big chop on the day. That would be super fun.
Yeah, awesome. Imagine, I'd love to like capture that too. It'd be cool. Like go from like, I don't know, one hairstyle longer and then chop it off. There's definitely, actually talk about like different hairstyles. There's definitely been times, and I'm sure you said before, and this is kind of going off topic again, but about like going for a full change. So like full change of hairstyles. So maybe you've got it, I don't know, I'm assuming having it down and out at the start is easier to then put it up during the reception or something like that. But that definitely, is that something that you get requests for? To like fully change?
I do have a package, like add-on packages that brides can add on to their quote, essentially. So one of them is, so I've got the touch-ups, so meaning that I'll come or stay at the preparation venue until after your photos and pre-reception, to do touch-ups on the bride and all the girls. Another one is hairstyle change for the bride only. So same deal, I guess. I'll stay until after photos, or if she wants a hair change before the photos, either way, and do a full hairstyle change for the bride. And then another one is actually to go and help the groom and his groomsmen.
So good. I love that. Yeah. There's a lot of guys with long hairs these days, as well. Like that's not even just long hair, but just hair in general.
Yeah, and I think it's more so just peace of mind for the bride to make sure that everything's running smoothly. Buttonholes was a bit. I've done this a few times, and I've noticed every time that I have done it, I'll walk in and they're all just kind of like we don't know what to do. How do we put buttonholes on? How do we, what do we do with our hair? I don't know what to do. So it's kind of just going in there and helping them out and making sure that, everything's ready for them to walk out and, they look
Schmick.
well presented, I guess. Yeah.
That's it.
Everything's on point.
There's a lot of times that I go and like the boys are getting ready and they're all talking about like, oh, who's got some, stuff to put in my hair, and no one really knows what's going on. So look, having someone there that's happy to help out and be a bit of a professional in that aspect, it's always, I'm sure it's always welcomed.
Oh, for sure. And as I said, it's kind of, I think it's just more so just going in and I guess calming some nerves and helping out with those last minute touches that they kind of, the buttonholes, as I said, is a big one.
And especially when you're like a lot of venues these days, we're all getting ready together too, right? Like we're not together in the same room, but like a lot of venues are having multiple like houses and things like that on it. And you're already on site and you may have like some time when you finished all the hair and then the girls are doing what the girls are doing, like getting ready and stuff like that. You might have an hour or something spare and you can just like scoot down the road and fill in that hour by, helping the boys out or something. It's an awesome, I've never thought about that before. It's great. I love that.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. And the bride will always be like, oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for, just calming those nerves and letting me know that they're fine and, everything's running smoothly and they've all got their suits and the right pants and the right shoes and socks and all of that stuff. So, yeah.
It's amazing, yeah. And it's like, and I think the thing at the end of the day is like, just because you're a hairdresser or just because I'm a photographer doesn't change the fact that we're not there to help your like wedding be amazing, and it doesn't change the fact that we're, not there, I guess, to, like elevate the day itself. Like it's such a beautiful day and we are happy to do whatever it takes to make it amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is, you kind of just want to feel like another friend that's there for their morning. Like you just want to kind of slip in and it's just like having another girlfriend or, another mate there for the day.
I love it.
So, yeah.
It's so good. And I think, look, if you get anything out of today, obviously Grace has dropped a whole lot of hints and tips in terms of like how to elevate your day when it comes to hair. But she's also dropped a whole lot of hints and tips in a sense of make sure you pick people that are on your day, like that are going to be there on the day with you, your vendors that are going to bring you joy, that are going to be there to give you 110%. And it might be outside of their technical realm of expertise when it comes to like, I guess, what you've hired them for all. But at the end of the day, we've seen it all before. We've done a lot of weddings where, it's good to have people that you can trust there. And I think that's massive. And look, on this podcast, we talk about it a lot. We talk about having the people around you that is going to make sure that your day is epic. And Grace has just slid into this podcast and she's absolutely nailed it when it comes to this, I guess, the general topic that we talk about day in, day out on this podcast. And we love that. Look, I think we're almost done, Grace, but is there anything else? I feel like there's so much we can talk about, but anything else that you like, I want to dive into real quickly? Like, give us a golden nugget to finish off. Have you got anything for us? Putting her on the spot.
Yeah, I know. I don't work well under pressure.
So there's a hairdresser who works under pressure all the time, getting that hair right. It's okay if you don't. If I'm going to give you one last question, and only because while you're thinking, if there's one thing that you want your bride and bridesmaids to take away from this podcast today, to make sure that their hair is on point and is amazing, what's that like take home value, take home golden nugget that every bride and bridesmaid should do before the day, on the day?
Definitely, the hair care that we spoke about before. So just in the lead up, just taking care of your hair is very, very important. But also just, I think, start planning what you want. So kind of have, I guess, a clear idea of how you want your hair for the day. And also how the girls want their hair, how the bridesmaids want their hair for the day too. I think organization is key. So just kind of having that clear idea, it just makes things run smoothly.
I love it. Perfect. Organization is 100% key. Definitely. Yeah. Oh man, Grace, it's been so good to chat with you today. And look, I definitely think
Thanks for having me.
After this podcast, there's definitely going to be some girls out there that are like, I need Grace in my life. Where is she? Where can we find her? Let's talk to her. So maybe just before we finish, just let us know where we can find you, maybe your website, your socials, whatever that looks like. Just tell us where we can find you and find out more about you and what you do.
Yeah, so my Instagram is just Grace Roby Hair, and that has a link to my inquiry form, my website, all of my photo. I've been trying really hard recently. I think I mentioned this to you the other day, Matt, just trying to be more present on my social media, because it's hard. It's like another full-time job.
Legit, it is.
Yeah, it's full on. So, and I kind of want to have my face on there more. I met someone recently and she was like, oh, you're that person. That's who is behind that business. So I think, this will be very good for that, but I just need to be more of me on there, I guess.
That's it. And I think it definitely helps, when we get to see you more, it helps us be a little bit more comfortable when it comes to like who we're having on the day, for sure. And look,
yeah, exactly.
Grace, it's been such a pleasure to have you on today, and I've learned a lot.
Thanks, Matt.
I feel like I feel like I've learned heaps from this, because as a guy, like I probably don't have to worry about the things that the ladies have to worry about when it comes to the preparation for hair and things like that. But yeah, you've got some golden nuggets in that brain of yours, and it's been so good to dive in and talk to you about that. And look, definitely go and check Grace's Instagram out. She's doing epic things at the moment, and yeah, she's smashing out these reels lately, which have been amazing. And she's showing it back some more. So go give her some love and make sure you check her out. And if you are loving what you've been listening to today, we would love to hear your thoughts. And slide into the DMs and shoot us a message and tell us your thoughts on, I don't know, if you've learned anything. We always love to get a bit of feedback from these chats, and we would love to hear from you. And
I want to know too. I want to know if this has been insightful for brides. Moving forward, like, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, maybe we'll need to get Grace on in the future, and we'll go through some more questions about and maybe dive deeper into some of these topics, because we've kind of we've spoken for a fair bit today, but we've kind of just gone on that top layer, but I'm sure there's always some more.
There's so much more. I think I said this to you the other day. I could sit here for 3 hours and talk about hair and weddings and brides and all of this fun stuff. So definitely only scraped the surface.
It's so good, and I absolutely loved it today. So thanks so much for being on the Make It Epic Wedding podcast. And we would love to hear from you all soon, and we hope you have a good week, and we will be back next week with another episode. Amazing. Thanks, Grace. You're a legend. Bye.
Bye.